what's next that's even more powerful, essentially, is the planning process, which is thumbnail sketches. So I made a new layer above this called thumbnail. And this is actually my favorite part of the process of, I love the whole process, but this part really helps me to even further flush out what I'm seeing in my overhead map because it helps me to start thinking in 3D. And this is where your 1, 2, and 3-point perspective skills are going to come in. So grab your camera and just begin to position it at the door here. So this is what we're looking at. Then on the thumbnail sketches layer, I start with just sketching out a box. And this is definitely where I stay within the field of view of what I think my camera is going to look at. So if it's 16 by 9, I'll make it a little bit wider. I draw in my horizon line. And I look at this, and it really helps me to conceptualize what's happening in the scene here. So my character is a little bit smaller, so I know that that register here is going to be a little bit higher. And this is where you can gather some reference. But it's okay to kind of work off of your imagination at this point, unless you're completely lost. So I know there's going to be some sort of register here. Just make it a little bit wider. And I want to emphasize here that I only want you to work in black and white. If you can make it look amazing at this size, it'll look incredible when you blow it up. So I'm just going to put a dollar sign here and write $100. So there's somebody who spent $100 on some toys here. Maybe it has one of those old school flags that sit up here showing the bill of sale. Maybe there's a glass cabinet. It's a glass cabinet. So I'm just kind of sketching at ideas. And off of that horizon line, I'm just going to lightly sketch in perspective lines here, right? And remember that parallel lines and they all transcend on one vanishing point in nature. So what I mean by that is, so we're going to put cubes here. They're going to represent maybe little toy soldiers and dolls. And so, for example, here's this. And we want to make sure that we're just sort of mocking that out lightly. A couple toys in here. And your thumbnail sketches should never take more than a minute. So let's put a little head here for this doll. This another, I don't know, some sort of toy doll. Maybe there is another bear here, which is kind of interesting. The bear has some tears running down its face. So as we're doing this, we're sort of brainstorming. Now, you want to use your light and dark values. So I'm going to increase my brush here a little bit. I want you to just paint out anything that is not of importance. So right now I don't care about the background. Painting out or blocking out anything isn't around these guys. It oftentimes looks better if you just using my darks, or my black in this case, to push this out. Here's thumbnail 1 done. And what I oftentimes will do is, if I'm trying to do something for a game to show people, is I'll take my camera around and I'll rotate it. Looks like something's out here. That's better. And I start to create my animatic from this as well. Something like this. So now we're catching the corner of this, and we're pointing this way, and we see this trail of stuffing and then some sort of other shelf here. This is where it can get tricky, right? So now you're going to have to look at your perspective line that's coming off this way, right? And we're starting to look at, we left one point, we're going to start looking at maybe doing a 2 perspective, right? A point out here and here. Jump up here, right below the other one. Draw my horizon line. I know I'm catching the edge of that bookshelf, and that bookshelf is as tall as I am, so catching this would all be sort of in the fog, right? Because our field of view is going to be obstructed. So with that said, we can actually drop our 2 eyes, right? Here's that corner of the shelf is here. Draw that out like this. Cut it off here. Shelf that sits right at the horizon line. Maybe we have another shelf. It leads to, we have our little stuffing trail. And the carpet, let's draw another line in here that catches the edge. Now, if we were doing a true animatic, we'd be able to frame it where we'd actually have the corner of this sort of in the scene. This. And we'd have maybe this a character over here that we knew with the previous scene to help us see it. So here's one. And maybe there's just more toys. So we've got toys slowly trickle off in the distance. Again, we don't know what these toys are yet. And if you're working at a company, the company itself will start to, will going to have show your art director, essentially what I'm saying. So let's kind of, same thing with these. You should use proper planning and kind of map out how it's sort of falling. And then we don't see her right in our obstructed view here, and we're not going to see him. So now what we can do is just not see here because we're already at. What I generally do is I like to institute a fine line of cross-hatching. I want to point something out too that some people might not know. If you're using the latest version of Photoshop, if you have smoothing 100%, a lot of people go online and they're like, why am I getting such a delay in my brush? And they do all this stuff. I got an email about this earlier. You want to take your smoothing all the way down. It's almost like Lazy Mouse if you're familiar with that in ZBrush. It's a new feature that's Photoshop put in to help guide your drawings or your line work. Anyway, I'm going to draw that in. I'm going to leave this horizon line in. Kind of helps me to really. Same thing here. Maybe I'll leave a little bit of that back end of that bookcase, but I'm really going to increase my cross hatching towards the bottom. It shows the divergence of the top of the bookshelf. That. I don't necessarily need to see the top of this. You'll barely see it in general. You can see how now we're really starting to shape overall look, same thing. The only thing I care about, you're really using those blacks to kind of push where we want to guide the viewer, right? Now, it's okay if these are messy because later, if say you're doing this for a comic, you can blow this up and really clean it up if you really like these views. All right, let's move our camera and actually up here. I'm going to take my camera and I'm hitting Control T, by the way, to transform this, and move it more into the action shot. So I'm positioning it so I'm still catching a little bit of this bookshelf, right? And what I'm going to plan on this. Now, I would actually do a little bit more. I would do more of like, it turns, you're framing this, you come over here. But now we're going to catch the cool part, right? We're going to get our princess and our bear outline. So let's do that underneath here. Draw our horizon line in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm mocking up, so I know here, at this point, our horizon line is going like this, right? So we're like, okay, that's our horizon line. That means we have a box here that represents her. And it's okay to do this because you can always erase it. And that means she's standing like this. So we need to mock that in, right? That's off in the distance. She's sitting almost on top of our horizon line. So let's draw that line in, something like this towards the edge. And this is another way of being like, okay, you know what? This is bad viewing. So here's the center point where we're standing. And she's going all the way down to the floor, so I made her a little bit shorter than she was. And then we need something here, so maybe we'll add a baseboard here to frame it, like this rounded baseboard. Actually, it would be still straight on, and we would do that through shadow. And then we need to say, okay, well, how tall is this bear in relation to her, right? If she's here, and the edge of the bear is there from where it collapsed, actually, you know what? We need to do our 2-point because we forgot about this guy over here. So that means our bear, that chalk outline out in the distance is something like butting up right against the wall, right? Here's our horizon line. Diverging out this way. That's how we're getting our 1 and 2-point perspective. And then we have the edge of this bookcase that's helping us frame the shot. So let's get that out here. Got that out. So then you can start to say, okay, well, how do I break up her hat? Well, if you remember before, if you look at the shape, let's zoom in here. If we look at the top, here's the top of our thing, and we drop a cylinder here, that center point, right, is where her cone converges. And her head is slightly smaller than her body, right? So let's just start breaking this up into different chunks. So we have a line going off like this. Another point out here, right? Helping to shape that part of the cube. So we've got this and this. Sort of block out this stuff, just sort of sketching it in. Same thing with her body. We have the base of our cylinder here. Her hands here. A couple feet. I haven't done much research on what she's going to actually look like. Let's give her a little princess flag. Now for the bear, same thing. We're going to cut this up. Hair would be like this. Body would divulge like this. Section. Go in and erase this just a little bit because chalk outline and not the actual bear, and we're getting way too much geometry in there. With that said, I might go in and out this wall. Help us to start seeing the shape. Flooring, I might just add some wood planks. Normally like I was saying before, I would hatch the floor, right? I'd hatch the floor in the direction like this. Same direction as my perspective. Build that value or help people see or the art director see where I'm going. Let's line this up this way. Grab this one